In all the consternation around my quitting my job on the 12th of March, I completely missed my anniversary. Yes, indeed, my YouTube anniversary. I've been with YouTube, well, I joined YouTube in 2006, but I created my first video on the 12th of March 2007. So that was the day that I quit my job this year. So I completely forgot about this anniversary. But I just reminded myself and realized, hang on a second, this anniversary has just passed. So I should do something to celebrate it. So just to celebrate it, I'm going to do something that is very simple. A lazy man's pasta sauce, basically. Start off very, very simple. You just take your onions and you fry them. Now a nice little trick, frying onions, you see I've chopped them fairly, I chopped the onions fairly, coarsely. You know, there's no point in chopping them really fine. It doesn't do anything for the sauce. It's actually quite nice the way it's done here. And the first thing the first trick is that I add some tomato puree with the onion as I'm frying them. That gives a nice flavor to the sauce. So you just keep going until the onions are more or less glassy, and then you add your meat, the dead animal. In this case, it's the dead cow, pieces of executed bovine, and you just fry them up with the onions. Now I'm going to let that go on for a little while, so I'm going to stop the video here. I'm going to continue when the meat has browned. Now then, this works, by the way, it works just as well with diced lamb, minced beef or lamb, even tuna fish if you like that. The beef doesn't have to be completely cooked through, because it's going to be simmering in the sauce anyway. Now, to make the sauce, I'm going to add, first of all, oregano, just a good dash of it, and it doesn't need to be fresh, although fresh of course is nice. And then the essential ingredient for the actual sauce is chopped tomatoes. Oh, well, ideally just chopped tomatoes. I see one of them here is with herbs, but that's not going to be a big problem either, because the herbs they put in are basically oregano and basil anyway, so you know that's good enough for the sauce. So you just add these two to your meat, and that, shockingly, is it. Add a little bit of water, and now all you need to do is to let this simmer. Now it needs a good simmer. I'm going to show you what the sauce will look like when it's finished, or when it's ready to be eaten, because it is sort of raw at the moment, and you don't particularly want that. Another tip, something you could add, is capers. I find capers give a nice taste to the sauce, but they're optional. They're not by any means required, but they're nice. And if you are going to add capers to it, I would recommend that you find somewhere where they sell them in salt, or if they don't sell them in salt, where they sell them in brine. Try to steer away from the capers in vinegar, because that gives a bit odd flavor to the sauce. But salt or brine would be fine. This is what the sauce would look like in the early stages, and as you can see, one clear indicator that the sauce isn't ready yet is this sort of foamy stuff on the top. It's from the tomatoes, and it just means that the sauce hasn't cooked through yet, it hasn't simmered enough yet. That's one indicator. By the way, I would recommend that for making sauces you go check out your local supermarket and check out the different brands of chopped tomatoes that they sell, because there's big differences in flavor between one brand and the other. It took me a while to find the one that I like. Other ones could be, you want one that tastes sort of sweet and not too acidy. If you have a brand of chopped tomatoes that's really acidy, it just ruins your sauce. So this is what the sauce will look like in the early stages, and I'm going to show you next what the sauce will look like when it's ready to be eaten. When the sauce is ready, the foaminess has disappeared, and instead you get these ready, orangey, oily slicks on the surface. At this point the sauce can be eaten. It does, however, improve if you let it simmer for another half hour or an hour. It gets even better. So, if you give yourself enough time, you can make the sauce even nicer, but at this stage the sauce can be consumed. All you need to do now is make sure you've added salt and pepper to taste and cook your pasta. And at the very end, towards the point when the pasta is almost ready, you add your fresh basil if you want to add that to the sauce, and then it's ready to eat. Hope you enjoy it, and bon appetit.